Off the heels of a Dale Jr. Cup Series win at Kansas a couple nights ago, it is now time for Chase Race number 5 on our NASCAR 06 Do It For Dale Series Season Cup Series Edition, and of course on NASCAR 06 Total Team Control. We are at the Lowe's Motor Speedway at this time. Obviously that was the title sponsor of the racetrack, now known as the Charlotte Motor Speedway, for the site of the UAGM Quality 500. 500 miles around this 1.5 mile racetrack, the final night race of the season as well. A lot on tap here for this one. 6 drivers come in within 118 points of the lead. The top 5 in points all within 92 points of the lead. Still halfway through the chase after tonight's race. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we are going to get into tonight's full race live commentary, realistic commentary for the video game side of things here today. Wade Selinsky, Aston Beechwood, Fire Company 72, Derek Booth, Davey Chumbler, and others, welcome into the stream. Let's see who is going to qualify on the pole for tonight's 500-mile extravaganza at Charlotte. And Dale Jr. was fastest in practice as well, so it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that kind of a lap time. He had a 30.416, which was actually his last lap he ran in practice, which was the fastest of any other driver. For those of you wondering where Mike Bliss was in practice, he was 7th quickest. Dale Jr. is going to work his way onto the raceway through turns 1 and 2. 2 laps to try and set his quick time for tonight's race. And we're getting things kicked off pretty quickly here. Going to try to speed things along with the pre-race, or the intro to at least tonight's live stream. And the main reason is because we are starting this a little bit later and I still have to work tomorrow. Usually the 500-mile races we start at like 6 o'clock, so a little bit behind schedule today. I apologize for that, but we are up and running, and hopefully we can get through all 500 miles tonight. DNF at this juncture of the chase is going to cost you a championship. Dale Jr. comes in 35 points out of Jeff Gordon's first place in the standings. Jr. is second. He gained 4 spots after his win and leading the most laps at Kansas with the max points day. A little tight in turns 3 and 4. Going to go up the track a little bit. Still tracking close to the pole, but I think that scrub off of time off turn 4 will cost him on lap 1. 9th quickest with a 30.564 on lap 1. A little over 1/10 of a second off his fastest time in practice. So he's looking to pick it up a little bit on lap 2, trying to get as close to the apron as possible. Perfect corner through turns 1 and 2 for Dale Jr. Can he replicate that now in turns 3 and 4? Nope. Overdrove it. Has to lift quite a bit. Going up near the wall. Exit of the corner. Trying to carry as much speed. He was so good in turns 1 and 2. The second lap still going to be quicker than the first. 30.564. And he will be, again, 9th quickest. Never mind. So I guess that first lap was quicker than the second. Jeff Gordon will be on the pole for tonight's race, again coming in as the points leader. So tough break there for Jr. A little tight turns 3 and 4. Going to keep an eye on that. Obviously, as we head into the race, I did not get a chance to drive or race around any cars in practice, so no clue how this thing's going to handle in dirty air today. Billy Kramer, Toxic Punk Young Boy, thanks for tuning in to the stream as well. Do it for Dale Sr. We'll see if Dale Jr. can get his first career title. 6 races remain. Heading into tonight's race and tonight's coverage, the green flag is in the air and we are underway at Charlotte. Great launch off the start for Dale Jr. as he quickly gets by Scott Riggs in the 10, who might have spun his tires off the start. That was a great start for Dale Jr. Also gets by Greg Biffle, squeezes Elliott Sadler in the 38. We're not used to seeing Dale Jr. take off well in the starts and restarts. He gains 3 spots in the first half a lap. What a start for Dale Jr. And now he gets to the inside of Ryan Newman off turn 4 as well. Jeff Gordon will lead the opening lap from the pole. Good start for the pole sitter and the points leader. Dale Jr. overdrives turns 1 and 2, body slams Ryan Newman. Surprised that they bounced off each other like that and really didn't get completely out of control. Saw 8 cautions in the Busch Series race last night at Charlotte. I'm not expecting this to be a quiet race today. A lot cleaner start. We had that opening lap accident. Dale Jr., despite being aggressive, passing 4 cars in 2 laps, already ran a lap time quicker than his pole time on lap 2. That was even with contact with Ryan Newman. Car's a little on the tight side. I'm hoping it frees up over the long run like it did in the Busch Series race. A little bit different setup. Obviously, with this being a Cup Series car, it's a little more horsepower, so it added just a bit more downforce. Dale Jr. was hitting his marks in the second half of that race en route to his third-place finish. It did not start off well for him, but he knows he's got to be patient. It's a 500-mile race. Even if Gordon leads the most laps, it's all in Dale Jr.'s destiny, really, to win this title. He just has to beat Gordon at the end of the day. If Gordon gets more bonus points than Dale Jr., 10 bonus points to 5, and Jr. beats him by 1 spot to at least come even, he just doesn't want to lose any more points to Gordon at this point in the year. He's second, so as long as he can just beat Gordon on a consistent basis, he will win this championship. There are other drivers right there for the taking. Obviously, Kurt Busch is in the top 5 in points. Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson. In fact, actually, the top 5 in points are running 1 through 5 right now. Putting the pressure on each other early in this 5-car breakaway. Like Edwards overdrove the corner. Junior's got to run off turn 2. Not going to look to really pass in turns 3 and 4 early because he struggled that corner in qualifying. Ran the same setup in qualifying as what he did in practice, and obviously translating that to the race. The apron we know is very touchy at Charlotte, just like at Dover. Maybe not to that extreme, but it is pretty touchy. We saw Dale Jr. spin twice in the Busch Series race. Patrick Chatterley, thanks for tuning in. Mark DeMars, thanks for tuning in as well. Not as much pressure maybe in the Cup Series season for Dale Jr. because he's only 35 back versus in the Busch Series right now he's 161 back with just 4 races to go, and he's got 2 extra races here. There's a lot more pressure on him considering how much closer it is in the point standings behind as well. 34 flat, by the way, a couple laps ago for Dale Jr. That was faster than any lap he ran in practice. Corey Freed, thanks for tuning into the stream as well. Jimmy Johnson starting to hold Dale Jr. up a little bit. Top 3 pulling away. Jr. wants to get by the 48 so he doesn't lose sight of the leaders. But Johnson's not making a mistake really right now. Dale Jr. is not able to really find a way under the 48 car. We know how strong Johnson is at Charlotte in this era of NASCAR. Big block by Johnson off turn 4 as Jr. wasn't able to get underneath him, but it was a clean block. Edwards to the inside of Jeff Gordon for the lead in turns 1 and 2. Edwards out in front for the first time today as he'll clear Gordon off the exit of the corner. Still defensive line on the back straightaway. He's giving Gordon plenty of room on the outside lane. And Carl Edwards is going to lead at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. By the way, I did see the NASCAR news today that Kurt Busch isn't going to be qualified for the playoffs as Toyota itself is revoking his playoff waiver that he had gotten. So that tells me he's probably not going to be healthy enough to make the playoffs. Either that or they're making the decision because they think Truex has a better shot at making it to the championship than Busch, potentially. I mean, that could be another reason why. That stinks if that is the reason, though, for Kurt Busch's sake. Rover driving turns 1 and 2 just a little bit. Off the heels of his fastest lap again that last time by 30.390. He didn't run a single lap in the 33s. Gordon putting the pressure back on Carl Edwards again, and Johnson's starting to pick up the pace a little bit because obviously Junior's picking up the pace and he's still not able to get alongside the 48. And Johnson's all over the back bumper of the 97 of Kurt Busch as Edwards and Gordon continue to battle for the lead. Round of 16 elimination, Cindric, Briscoe, Bowman, Suarez. I can definitely see that. I'd almost consider throwing Byron in there over Cindric. Byron did really good at Darlington though earlier in the year. Jimmy Johnson looking to the inside of Kurt Busch. Busch with a block. Johnson lifts. That's going to give Junior the run. Fastest lap for Dale Jr. that last time, 30.337. Gotta give credit to the top 5. Racing fast, racing clean, making passes. Kurt Busch now to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Jimmy Johnson still holding on in front of the 8. He can't quite get underneath the 97 of Kurt Busch that time. Oh, man. 4 cars simultaneously going up the track a little bit, as they all stay single file on the front stretch. We're going to see a lot of tire fall off. It's going to be interesting to see how these 5 championship contenders are going to do. I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything different than the 5 drivers all battling for the championship right now in the top 5 in points, all running under a blanket in the early going after all qualifying up inside the top 10. Junior qualified the furthest back in 9th, but he was able to get around 4 cars in the first 5 laps. And it seems like the restarts are going to be the best opportunity to pass cars today because of how hard this track is to pass on in this game with the tire wear, with the grading of the track for the 2005 season. It's the most narrow 1.5 mile racetrack on the circuit, from the wall down to the apron in the middle of the corners as well. They want trucks for the playoffs. Should be forced to drive the 45. Yeah, but that would be like owner's points for the 45. See, that's a weird thing too. Are they still going to qualify themselves for the owners, or is it just the drivers? Well, yeah, it would be the owners playoffs. The 45 would still be in, technically. Kurt Busch doesn't have to start every race. The 45 car has to start every race, so I'm sure the 45 is going to be in the owners playoffs, but not the drivers. Yeah, I think it's a team decision. It's not, the fact of the matter is, out of technicality, 2311 and Joe Gibbs Racing aren't the same team. Like, they're under the same manufacturer, so it's kind of, in my personal opinion, I think it's stupid that the manufacturer is probably telling Joe Gibbs, hey, put Truex in the playoffs. And Joe Gibbs is probably making the executive decision, in my personal opinion, for 2311. I feel like it's more of a his decision than anything else. I'm sure Michael Jordan doesn't want to see his driver get booted from the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's definitely a team orders thing, but it's not a team orders from teammates. It's a manufacturer order more than anything else. The fact that the announcement was made, you know, in advance, it's not like Kurt Busch has been ruled out for the first playoff race. I could kind of see if he was. A one-on-one interview with Kurt Busch would be a hot topic right now. I'll say that much. Harvick, Reddick, Blaney, Bell eliminated in the round of 12. That's tough. Reddick's so good on the road courses, though. They got the Roval. He's going to have a shot to win that race. I'd probably lean more towards Kyle Busch getting eliminated over Reddick in that round. Reddick could be a Championship 4 favorite, honestly, considering Homestead's in the round after that. Junior overdrives turns 1 and 2, scrapes the wall. Gonna lose a little bit of ground to the top 4 now. He's the first one of those 5 cars to make a major enough mistake to lose quite a bit of time. All about patience in these longer races, especially this late in the season. Dale Jr., he wants to lead as many laps as possible. But we saw for that Busch Series race how wild things got, how quick it got. Dale Jr. really trying to take order of this race, even from the 5th place position, by not being overly aggressive and trying to pass these guys. He was aggressive in the last race at Kansas. It worked out for him. Aggressive in the sense that it was just hard racing for a good 300 of the 400 miles, just back and forth action. Even the Busch race at Kansas kind of the same way. I'm surprised you would have Byron going all the way into the round of 8 too. That's shocking to me. I probably would have had Byron out in the round of 16 right now. I'll have my playoff predictions middle of next week. I'll definitely be doing a video on that. Probably get it out on Monday or Tuesday is what I'm looking at. See how my preseason predictions went. I can't remember if I had Kurt Busch making the playoffs or not. Honestly, can't remember. I don't think I did. So I think the only one I would get wrong was I didn't have Ross Chastain in the playoffs at the start of the season. I think that would have been the only one I would have gotten wrong. Well, Suarez, I don't think I had in the playoffs either. I don't think I had either of the Trackhouse cars. I'm trying to think who I had in replace of that. I feel like I had Keselowski in. I think I had Keselowski in, and then I think I had... man, who else would have been out that I would have had in over him? Not Almirola. Maybe it was Almirola. I don't think I had Almirola in. I'd have to go back and look. Johnson losing Kurt Busch just a tad as well. Junior starting to close back in on the 48. Jeff Gordon has not been able to get around Edwards after Edwards passed him on lap 8. Didn't have Kurt Busch Suarez. Well, at least I'll be right with Kurt Busch. I might have had Bell missing the playoffs, now that I think about it. I could have had Bell missing the playoffs. Dale Jr. standing on the gas even when Jimmy Johnson goes down to make the blocks. He just can't get enough of a run to get underneath the 48 car. And he can't really keep up with them in the center of the corner with the tighter setup. If he is going to make it looser, he's going to wait till the very end of the race to do something like that. Even with the setup of the race car, the handling of the car, wanting it to be more on the side of things of even that being patient, not going overly aggressive on the setup changes right now. 30.385 that last lap for Dale Jr. It was a pretty quick one. Not a lot of passing inside the top 5 right now, but they're all within 0.8 of a second of the race lead. Dale Jr. drives it in pretty deep into 3 and 4. He'll get to the inside of Johnson this time. It'll make the pass for 4th place, sliding clear off the exit of the corner. It's going to be a lot harder to pass the further back in the run. That was the fastest lap for Dale Jr. today as well, 30.335. And he slides on the apron and into the inside wall, just like that. Man, oh man. It's amazing how quickly that car just snaps. And he barely even clipped it that time. It's almost like it gets glued to the white line and then it snaps, but it's all in such a quick instant. And Dale Jr. took a pretty good look into the inside retaining wall at the left side of his race car, too. I don't think it's going to take much speed out of the car. It could have been a worse hit. Luckily, he didn't hit it head on. And caution is out for the first time today, and he cannot pit for fuel or tires, bringing out the accident. 3.4 seconds. Almost saved it, but then just trying to keep his gas in it, turning right to go left. He straightened it back out, but unfortunately, again, got in the inside wall, driver's side door first, about 3.5 seconds worth of damage. And he's going to have to repair the race car. He'll probably come out with the lead, but it'll be on older tires, which is not going to be great. Well, green flag back in the air. Junior on older tires got a decent launch. But will he be able to hold on to the lead? He did get 5 bonus points leading under the caution. Gordon to the inside to take over second place on Carl Edwards, and Junior's going to lead his first green flag lap of the day at the line as well. 30-lap older tires for Dale Jr. Jeez. He got aero loose that time, and that caused the car to clip the apron, but he didn't spin that go-around, and he does primarily stay in front of Jeff Gordon into turns 3 and 4. Larry, thanks for tuning into the stream. Yeah, I'm hard on myself for trying to race clean. Carl Edwards to the inside of the 8 of Dale Jr. Casey Mears up to 4th place out of nowhere. Pretty quick pit stop for the 41 group. Edwards to the lead. Casey Mears gets by Jeff Gordon, who's held on behind the slower Dale Jr. car on the outside. And Casey Mears is still under Earnhardt. A little contact, which launched Jr. into the wall. It costed him more than just the spot to Mears. Casey Mears having a day. Great restart, of course, for the 41. His teammate Mcmurray's only a couple more spots behind him yet. A couple of the CGR Chevrolets are having a good run. Dodges, rather. Halfway through the fuel run right now for Dale Jr. with that caution. He's actually got a run on Gordon, but can't keep it up on the back straightaway. Edwards quickly back into the lead, just about 2 to 3 laps after the restart. Right back to where he was running prior to the caution. And he did win the race off of pit road for everybody that did take tires, so it was a pretty good stop by the 99 crew. Yeah, about 6 to 8 laps. That seems about normal without cautions. It's actually fine that the car moves up in the middle of the corner. At least there's no shot of him chopping it off and hitting the apron. I doubt Dale Jr. is going to have a chance to get back around Jeff Gordon. Casey Mears keeping pace with Carl Edwards in the 99. I think the best thing that could possibly happen right now is we get really close to when Dale Jr. has to hit pit road. Towards the end of the fuel run, and then a caution comes out. So hopefully it brings more than just himself into the pit so he doesn't lose all that track position. So he's been inside the top 5 this entire race. But that's the price you pay bringing out the caution. 30.299 that last lap. That was an unbelievable lap on older tires for Dale Jr. Fastest of the race. I didn't think we were going to be seeing any 32s today. That's incredible. Considering it was a 30.415, I believe, was his fastest lap in practice. Hugs the inside well through 3 and 4. Good run on Gordon, middle of the front stretch. Looks to the inside. Trying to side draft the left rear corner panel of Gordon. Got into him a little bit. And clear. Dale Jr. to P3. Muscles its way around Jeff Gordon. Kind of bullied him a little bit. Has to beat the 24 car. He's 35 points behind him coming in. Again, that is the main purpose right now. Have good finishes. Just get in the top 10 and make sure you beat Gordon at the very least. As the objective tonight for Dale Jr. And that could change on a week-to-week basis as we get closer to the championship race at Homestead and seeing where everybody else is. Kind of similar to that Busch Series race yesterday. I'm surprised Dale Jr. is doing as well on older tires. It seems like they're all over you those first couple laps, and then once you kind of settle in after about 4 or 5 laps, you can kind of maintain your pace. It's just all about that initial restart, just taking a few extra laps to get up to speed compared to everybody else. Gordon losing the top 3 also. Dale Jr.'s doing all he can to try and catch the 2 cars in front of him. Casey Mears, Carl Edwards. Casey Mears having a career day. Got his first career win in the Coke 600 at Charlotte, but that wasn't until he was driving with Hendrick Motorsports in the 2007 season. In the 25 car. So he is still looking for his first career Cup Series win coming into this race in Charlotte tonight. His Chip Ganassi Racing teammate Jamie McMurray got his first career win at Charlotte in 2002. And just his second career start. Junior's car slowly freeing up on the longer run. When he's not in dirty air, he's kind of close to the 41 and the 99, but not close enough to have that come into a big play, so he's able to stick the bottom a little bit better. Still running 33s. Slide's definitely worn out the tires a bit more as well. Jeff Gordon still in 4th. Kind of in a league of his own. He's still well ahead of the 5th place cars. Top 3 within a half a second of each other. Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson seem to have lost a lot of spots on pit road. That's what costed Johnson a top 10 finish in the last race at Kansas. Was that first caution, or the first couple cautions early in the day. We had pit stops under the yellow, and he fell outside the top 10. Unfortunately, never got back inside the top 10 and ended up finishing 13th after qualifying on the pole, leading laps early on. XX88 NASCAR, thanks for tuning into the stream. I'm doing great. Hopefully you are too. 11 likes on the stream. We've had 20 people watching at one point already tonight. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as well. Live race commentary tomorrow night for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona. That will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to tune in for live commentary of that race. It'll be on the USA Network. Won't want to miss it. It's only going to be the 3rd Xfinity race I've been able to do live commentary for this season. The other races were Martinsville and Portland. In Portland, I had to cram that stream in a hotel room in St. Louis. And I was there the day before the Gateway Cup race. Another 30.299 that last lap, tying Dale Jr.'s fastest of the race. I don't know how he's going to pick this pace up as the race goes on. A little mistake by the 41 overdriving the corner. It looked like he bottomed out a little bit in the middle of the corner as well. Allows Dale Jr. to close in on him just a bit. And he loses Carl Edwards in the 99. Wider entry into turns 3 and 4. Gonna hold it. Got to arc the corner off in the middle. So he did get a better drive off than Casey Mears in the 41. Ran out of racetrack though to keep that run and get to the inside of Mears. Through a block on the front stretch. There was nothing but grass down to the inside. Junior drives it in deep into turns 3 and 4. He's all over the back bumper of Casey Mears off the exit of the corner. Well, bump draft in the back of the 41 car in the front stretch at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Both cars hang on to it, work their ways into turns 1 and 2. Big chop off by Mears getting into the corner. Junior's got to run off the exit to the inside of Casey Mears. He'll side draft him on the back straightaway. Casey Mears going to hold on to the position into turns 3 and 4. Junior down low again under Mears. Side drafting the 41 car. Trying to stay low into turns 1 and 2. All over the left rear corner panel. Drives it in deep. Slides up a bit. And Junior back into second. All clear off the exit of the corner. Mears putting up a fight. But so is Dale Jr. considering he's got 30 lap older tires. Got a little arrow loose off turn 4 with Mears right in line behind him. Over 50 laps on these tires, though. That doesn't help. It's going to go a bit wide, though, through turns 1 and 2. Mears looking to the inside. Mears clips the apron. That's going to cut his middle corner speed off. Junior with a block on the back straightaway to stay in front of the 41. And as the battle for second goes on, it's allowing the 99 of Carl Edwards to pull away. Junior stays in front of the 41 car. Alex Bowman Facts, thanks for tuning into the stream. Yes, I still do have NASCAR 21. I still have to run the championship race yet on our season. That will be next week on the channel. The Championship 4 race. I'm surprised the tires are green considering the fact I slid and brought out a caution in the middle of the run. It's definitely looser though, especially with the car right on their back bumper. So I'd imagine one of the rear tires are probably going to hit yellow before anything else. There's a lot of downforce in the car. That could probably help as well. Junior slowly gapping that 41 car of Casey Mears. Trying to get as much draft down the straightaways as possible right now on the 99 of Edwards. Primarily on the back straightaway. The front stretch, he's just trying to stay as low as he possibly can. And Junior was a bit quicker than Edwards that last lap. And off turn 4 that last lap as well, Dale Jr. ended up having that right rear tire get into the yellow on the tire wear indicator. Into turns 3 and 4. Jr. closing the gap again on cousin Carl. This is going to be a great lap at the start-finish line for Dale Jr. 30.332, eighth of a tank of fuel left as his crew chief Tony Erie Jr. giving him the call. And Carl Edwards as a mirror full of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Junior's going to have to pit pretty soon, though. 30.258 that last lap for Earnhardt. His fastest lap of the race. Really low entry for Earnhardt into 3 and 4. Washes up the track as the right front tire starting to go away just a bit. Still gets a decent run though off the exit of turn 4. Junior going to try to widen his arc off into turns 1 and 2. Edwards left the bottom open initially, but Junior couldn't keep the car underneath the 99. Now he gets under him off the exit of the corner, side by side for the lead on the back straightaway. Edwards just shuts the door, though, into turns 3 and 4. Junior's getting off the corner a little bit better than a 99. Big block by Edwards. He's clear. Barely. Another block by Edwards. Pulls Junior a bit more on the back straightaway that time, and around goes Junior. He slides. Casey Mears is coming and clips him in the right rear. Jeez Louise, caution's out for the second time. I thought he had it saved, which he pretty much did, but then Casey Mears barely clipped him in the right rear. But at such a high rated speed, there's quite a bit of damage there. It is amazing how easy it is to clip that apron at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And again, being involved in an accident, Junior is going to be going right to the tail, and he's going to have to make a green flag pit stop not far after this restart as well, unfortunately. Right as the tires are starting to go away, too. Green flag back in the air. Lap 68. Told you to avoid the apron. You guys can tell me 100 times, I'm still going to find a way to hit it throughout a 500-mile race a couple times. Some tracks you get away with it and you don't really lose major control of your car, and at Charlotte, it's one of those tracks where it turns you every time. Charlotte and Dover are the two tracks that you can't get away with it at all. There's no chance of saving it. It snaps before you even have a second to try and save it. Junior's going to pit this time by. Put 4 tires back on the car, and the good news is with the 2 cautions playing out when they have, Dale Jr. is going to be a lap down, but it'll be the only car a lap down. So if we got a 3rd yellow before everybody else pits, he'll be able to get back on the lead lap with the free pass. A couple cautions allow Jr. to run a little bit past his scheduled fuel window. And it'll be a 4-tire stop for Earnhardt. His first pit stop for fuel and tires today. Everybody got to pit under that first caution. Dale Jr. has to pit under green. Long way still to go. It's just going to be tough to get that track position back on a track that's been difficult to pass on all day. He's going to have a lot of clean air to put together some fast laps though by himself. Carl Edwards continues to lead a few laps after the most recent restart now, as Edwards has continued to lead the most laps by far in today's race. Won the regular season championship in his rookie campaign, still fighting for his first and only Nextel Cup Series championship. What a rookie season so far for Edwards. He's locked up the Rookie of the Year as the only rookie to just qualify for the chase. Comes in 4th in points. 5 wins also in his rookie season. It's got to be the most of any rookie season ever. Not 100% sure on that, but I feel like it has to be. And Dale Jr. did DNF in the Coke 600 earlier this season. The natural line's to run the inside. He's trying to give himself a little bit of space off of that white line because it's not even really the apron he touches, it's just that white line that turns him right around. Both times he hasn't really had the left front tire below the white line. It's been right on it. And there's a long ways to go, and I'm sure we're going to see more cautions in today's race, considering we had 8 in the Busch Series race yesterday, and the restarts were pretty crazy, especially once we got in the second half. Well, I should say we only had 1 caution in the second half of the race. This is about the middle portion of the race, so we saw a couple almost wrecks in the middle and the back of the pack that allowed Junior to get quite a few spots back. After a similar incident, he spun twice on his own yesterday, and now he's already spun twice on his own in 74 laps today. Thank Jimmy Johnson in the chat. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Well, for the meantime, we're going to take our first field pass of the race today. During this moment, we'll see where Michael Waltrip in the 15 car is at in the field. And currently he is in 31st. Not a great run going for Waltrip. He finished 12th at Kansas in the last race. Got a big run on Jimmy Spencer off turn 4. Looks to the inside. Side drafts the 50 car. He'll get by him for 30th. Jeff Green's been a rival with Michael Waltrip for a large portion of this season. Game Player 1821, thanks for tuning into the stream. Big run again off turn 4 for Waltrip. Oh, Jeff Green with a terrible block. Puts himself in the wall off the front bumper of the 15 of Michael Waltrip. That was not Waltrip's fault. Green was already there. He was a rival of his. I was wondering how Waltrip was going to get around him. That would be how. A little karma for Jeff Green. That did not cause a caution. He continued to stay green. No traffic directly behind the 15 car anymore. 2 more laps, so we'll go to Martin Truex Jr. in the field next. Claim of fame on this game in the career mode, won the Coke 600. One hot seat offered with the Hood brothers. There you go. That's a classic win. A lot of people will probably get behind. Waltrip nosed his way underneath the 77 of Quaffle, bullying the rookie out of the way. And moving up to 26th. Run now underneath Brian Vickers in the 25 car. Will pass him in turns 3 and 4. Carries the momentum. Just narrowly gets to the inside of the 40 of Marlin. Will transfer up to Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car now. Truex in 18th. Got Waltrip up to 25th, I believe. How am I streaming this game? HDMI. Oh, not HDMI, that's stupid. Elgato, game capture card. And then through OBS. Stephen Goat, thanks for tuning into the stream. I think I see Mike Bliss just up ahead. He has been running well at the beginning of the races, but with no stage points in this era of NASCAR racing compared to where we're used to now, it's actually helped him. As he's seemingly able to get good finishes, except for the last race, which is the only race he's finished outside the top 10 in the chase so far, where he had DNF'd and ended up finishing 42nd with an engine failure, which dropped him out of the points lead and dropped him all the way back to 6th, 118 points out of 1st. Gordon and Earnhardt have both led laps today and both in the top 2 in points. Carl Edwards, top 4 points, also leading laps and has by far led the most so far. See Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson just a couple spots up ahead of Truex. Truex trying to get to the inside of Dale Jarrett in the 88. He is there on the front stretch into turns 1 and 2. Clears Jarrett, looks to the inside of Bliss. He hit the apron and then hit Bliss. Bliss is up into the wall off turn 2. Jarrett checked up in time to keep it off the 0. Instead of Truex spinning out, he got loose and then just slid up into the 0 car of Mike Bliss, and Bliss lost a spot out of it. Truex goes up to 16th as we continue to stay green during this green flag run. And Truex, by the way, is about halfway on fuel right now. Next lap will go back to Dale Jr. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, thanks for tuning into the stream. That's why it's going to be so hard for Dale Jr. to get up through this field as well. We'll go back to Earnhardt. It's going to be so hard for Earnhardt to get back into this, and the main reason is just simply because Dale Jr. is going to have a hard time trying to pass cars and not clip that apron. You just saw it out of Truex there. You saw how close Waltrip was to clipping it as well. There's just not a lot of room at this racetrack. It doesn't help if they kind of pinch you down going into the corner, forcing you into that potential mistake as well. Coming to lap 89 right now for the rest of the field. It's going to be interesting to see where Dale Jr. cycles after green flag pit stops, once everybody else ends up pitting. You consider the fact Dale Jr.'s had a lot of clean air to work with on his pressure tires compared to the rest of the field. He's probably got about 30 to 35 lap pressure tires on everybody else right now. Should be able to cycle half of the way through the field off that alone, and then just hopefully hang on to his track position until he pits. Try to start doing it again. Field's going to get more and more spaced out the longer the green flag run goes, which we haven't seen an extremely long green flag run yet. Each caution's been after about 30 to 35 laps into the run. Hopefully Casey Mears doesn't have too much damage from that last accident. I mean, if he does, it sheds debris. That'd be all right for Dale Jr. Jr.'s going to need the entire field to cycle through green flag pit stops. He either needs a caution before they pit or after everyone pits. And the main reason is because he may not be in the free pass position if a caution comes out in the middle of green flag pit stops versus after it's completely done. He'll be back on the lead lap. Martin Truex Jr. is on his way in. Ryan Newman will lead his first lap of the day as race leader Carl Edwards will pit this time at lap 91. And luckily with the two slides and spins for Jr., he hasn't had much speed taken out of the car. Both the hits have been to the left side of the race car, more towards the door and left rear. So it hasn't hurt the engine at all, not really hitting the front bumper of his car on anything, or either of the front fenders of his car on anything today. Outside of those two spins, though, he's had such a clean race. He's made contact with, like, maybe, what, two drivers the whole day? A little bit with Gordon when he was on older tires battling after the first restart, and then with Ryan Newman on lap 2. He got into him in turns 1 and 2, and that was it. Newman, a non-chase driver, can finish as high as 11th in the standings. He does have one win this season as well, so still looking for a second as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. Michael Waltrip on his way into the pits now for DEI. And Schrader going to get passed on the racetrack. Can't tell who it's by. Pretty quick lap that last time for Dale Jr. He saw Schrader on the outside for a long time and he wanted to hurry up and catch him before he was able to get back down to the bottom. That was the case. And it'll clear Schrader off the exit of turn 2 for a position. Might be the 120 car right in front of Dale Jr. It is. I wonder if John Hamilton's in the 120 in all 3 series. We know he is in the truck in the Busch series. He is pinching Dale Jr. down on this racetrack. This is what I mean, why it's going to be so hard for Jr. to make passes. And that wasn't much of his fault. Caution's going to be in the middle of green flag pit stops. And accidentally spammed through the results. Or, sorry, the replay. Caution's out in the middle of green flag stops. And that is not what Jr. needed because now he's going to get trapped a lap down. He needed to either have it cycle all the way through or he had to pit. Or sorry, hope the caution came out before that. Junior was pinched down on the inside. There was contact. Exhibit A, and why I mentioned it's so hard to pass on this racetrack. Well, Exhibit B, really. Exhibit A is clipping the apron, and Junior could have either clipped the apron, spun out in front of the field again, or... I mean, you don't want to lift in that situation when you already have the nose out in front of the car you're battling with. Car's on pit road right there. And green flag going to be back in the air. So Dale Jr. is going to be a lap down. It looks like Carl Edwards was trapped a lap down potentially as well. Actually, he's at the tail end of the field, so I think Edwards got the free pass as he was the first car lap down on the restart. Jr. gets by the 45 of Kyle Petty. So Edwards has a lot of ground to make up, but at least he's on the lead lap still. That caution hurt Dale Jr. a ton as well. None of these cautions have helped him today, that's for certain. And now he's at the back of the pack where we've seen dangerous restarts at this track and another roughly 30 to 35 lap green flag run before the caution. It's probably going to be the trends of this race. The sad part is the 120 is probably going to be a rival now, even though that was probably more his fault than Dale Jr.'s. I'll put 20% of the blame on myself for not being able to hold the bottom, but I wasn't really... I was in such a tight window there. That was a Ross Chastain style wreck. If like Chastain was on the outside of somebody, kind of crowds you a little bit, forces you into making a mistake, but could have raced a lot cleaner, especially knowing we're so early in the race. Or a lot less aggressive, and that wouldn't have happened. Dale Jr. is going to have to somehow get back on the lead lap. We don't know who the first car lap down is. I have to imagine there's quite a few cars lap down because there was quite a few on pit road. Ryan Newman really benefited from it. He's still in the lead following the restart and following those pit stops under caution. So he won the race out of the pits. A slide job into turns 1 and 2. Junior will clear John Andretti. Worst part is Dale Jr.'s got older tires right now than everybody else with that slide especially. So even these cars he's trying to pass, he's going to have a hard time trying to hold on in front of him. He's going to have to hope for another caution. The problem is packed all bunched together. If a wreck happens, unless it's behind him, he's going to have to try to avoid. Made a big time wreck avoidance in the Busch Series race. Could have costed him a top 3. It's one of the middle cautions of the day. A lot of cars on the outside. Through turns 3 and 4. Allowed Dale Jr. to get by Jeff Green. Got to the inside of Boris Said. The contact was set up the track. Luckily, they didn't get hung up on each other. Not sure if that was for position or not. Wasn't really paying too close of attention on the leaderboard at the time. And the 120 car not too far out in front of Dale Jr. as Jr. gets to the inside of Kenny Schrader off turn 4. 3 wide because Jimmy Spencer's up on the outside. Still 3 wide down to the bottom of the racetrack. Schrader's going to be clear of Earnhardt. Earnhardt got tight in the dirty air up into Jimmy Spencer. Passes Spencer for position. NASCAR Cup Series 2311 Racing, thanks for tuning into the stream. No, Junior's not in the play. Talk about real life, obviously he's retired now. Well, next car to pass would be the 120. You know he's definitely a lap down. Forced Dale Jr. into that mistake. Excuse me. As mentioned, he is a rival as a result, even though it was his fault bringing out the wreck. Junior's going to have to get by him and hope he doesn't get wrecked. Junior's been fast off the exit of turn 4, just gets to the inside, side drafts, gets slammed into the grass, and he's going to make the pass. That works, I guess. Junior did a great job keeping control, even clipping the grass on the front stretch after the contact when the 120 tried to slam him. It's not John Hamilton, it's Lawton. B. Lawton is his name. His first name's not B, it just starts with a B. A lot of 2x2 racing up here through turns 3 and 4 and still onto the front stretch, just hoping none of these drivers make a major mistake. Looks like Andretti's able to get to the inside and potentially get around that 120 car as well. A little further back. Junior looking low, just got to the inside of Scott Riggs in the 10. Riggs stays in front of him though on the front stretch. Waltrip hugging that white line. I noticed the AI can clip the apron. They don't spin out, but I do when I hit it. That stinks. Junior on the inside of Riggs. Got squeezed a bit. Still able to slide up and clear him off the exit of turn 4. Waltrip blocks Leffler, slowing Leffler down on the front stretch. Dale Jr. almost got to the inside of the 11. But then the 11 simultaneously threw a block on Dale Earnhardt Jr. Look at this pack of cars up ahead. This is going to be nuts. Fortunately, Junior's in a position where he can't really be patient either. Looks like Newman's pulling away at the front of the field while everybody else is racing largely 2x2 behind him. Michael Waltrip ends up going wide. Leffler gets around him, which allows Dale Jr. to get by his teammate as well. And as Leffler slid up clear of the 15, Dale Jr. is going to get underneath Leffler. Bit arrow loose on the front stretch with the 10 car of Scott Riggs right in line behind him. Junior's clear for 30th on the 11 of Leffler. Scott Riggs still staying on the inside right behind Junior. Junior's car not handling well in traffic right now. Does get to the inside of another car. He's trying to hold on to the bottom as best as he can. He's going to make the pass on the 31 of Jeff Burton. A lot of cars still kind of stuck up on the outside right now. Mark Martin trying to throw a block. Dale Jr. squeezes to the inside. Got underneath him. Gets tight through turns 1 and 2 up the track into Martin. Martin barely kept it off the wall and kept from wrecking. Terry Labonte slowing these guys up middle of the pack. He moves up, though, instead in front of the 21 of Ricky Rudd. Jr. goes up the track, almost making contact with Rudd. Side drafted him, pulled him back in the middle of the corner. Gets to the inside of the 44 of Labonte. About clipped the apron and up into the track and into the wall goes Dale Jr. with Terry Labonte. Cars coming in hot behind. All the way back to 39th as we stay green. 40th. He may have clipped that white line which sent the 8 up into the 44. I think that's what happened. I haven't seen anybody puff. There is one car on pit road. It looks like somebody's blowing an engine, but I can't tell who. Dark Crypto, thanks for tuning into the stream. This race has not gone Dale Jr.'s way today. The only 2 top 10s in the first 4 chase races for Earnhardt are his 2 wins in which he led the most laps and got max point stays in both races at New Hampshire and Kansas. Other 2 races, one at Dover by Mike Bliss and Talladega was won by Matt Kenseth, who both had engine failures at Kansas in the last chase race on Monday night. An eventful 116 laps for Dale Jr. for all the wrong reasons. Nothing has gone his way at all. I know, I saw you said focus. I was focusing. I mean, the problem is the window of error is just so small that it make the slightest contact like that causes something drastic to happen, or clip the apron slightly. I'm just trying to justify how hard this is to not do that. Especially when you're in a dire situation like this, where you're trapped a lap down because of getting pinched by the 120 car. I will say Terry Labonte gave Dale Jr. a little bit more room than what the 120 gave him earlier. The 120 didn't give him hardly any room at all to make the corner. Labonte gave him just a sliver bit more room. But in trying not to hit the apron, up the track went Dale Jr., which was basically the same thing that happened with the 120. He's hit the apron twice today, and he spun right around both times he hit it. Think if it's, so you basically think if somebody, like if the AI hits the apron, that the same thing would happen. I saw Michael Waltrip, he was on the white line. There was somebody else too, one of the restarts we've seen today, that they were also on the apron. Like all the way through the corner, didn't lose control. I touch it just slightly, both here and at Dover, and you spin right out. Why Dover's not going well for me, and Charlotte, we DNF'd in the 600, and here we are in this 500-mile race, and 40th place after 120 laps. It's going to get underneath the 120. Way down on the inside of the track, the 120 is going a bit wide. Dale Jr. hoping to get around him into turns 3 and 4, and he does. Jeff Green making a pass on Boris Said simultaneously as well. Oh, engine failures, gotcha. Yeah, that's probably more of a coincidence, like you mentioned. Bliss is the points leader, so he lost it. I doubt that's going to happen to the points leader every time. And if it does, I hope it's more in the Busch Series with Clint Boyer than in the Cup Series, just because I can get a 35-point deficit. 161 is going to be more difficult in 4 races. On average, going to have to pick up about 40 points per race. is about 8 positions on average. Jeff Green going up the side draft. Scott Wimmer, middle of the back straightaway. Dale Jr. underneath the 22 of Wimmer, getting a little arrow loose in the middle of the corner. Kept him from getting tight at least as he slides clear of the 22 of Wimmer now. Junior's going to potentially try to short pit to try and gain more track position, so hopefully when everybody cycles through green flag pit stops this time around, that he's able to be in the free pass position. Just can't have a caution come out in the middle of green flag pit stops a second time or he'll go 2 laps down. I don't know how many cars are, again, on the lead lap and what position would be the free pass spot. Junior got up to 26 before making contact with Terry Labonte, which sent him back to 40th. 30.184 that last lap, by the way, for Dale Jr. I don't know what his fastest lap is, but he just ran a 31. That was definitely one of his fastest laps of the race. Seems to have faster laps put together on older tires as the car loosens up. To the inside of Jeff Green. And it looks like he'll be able to make the pass on the 43 car for 35th. Only a quarter tank of gas left for Dale Jr. anyway during this run. Still a long ways to go, though. Not yet halfway. Dale Jr. is going to end up having to make his second stop for fuel and tires very soon. We're actually going to take our second and final field pass of the race very shortly. By the way, I think both the other DEI cars of Michael Waltrip and Martin Truex Jr. are lapped down. Because I remember them both pitting before that third caution of the race came out. Dale Jr. going to get around Kenny Schrader for 34th. Waltrip going wide. Transfer to Martin Truex Jr. He's got a lot of traffic around him right now. Truex getting a little arrow loose himself from the 77 car of Travis Quaffle, who was right behind him. Truex in 20th, 1 lap down. So at least got to get inside the top 20 at the very least. Truex has a pretty massive run right now in the 40 of Sterling Marlin. Gets to the inside. Remember, Michael Waltrip also DNF'd, and Truex is on the apron. Hangs on to it. I wish I could do that with Dale Jr., but fortunately it's not the case. He does get by Marlin. Marlin's on the lead lap. It's not a pass for position. So I'm thinking Truex might be the free pass car in 20th place right now. Sterling Marlin did not give Truex a lot of room to make that corner, though, by the way. One thing to run a car tight, it's another thing to not give him enough room to make the corner. Well, never mind, Truex might not have been in the free pass position. It may still not, because he just passed Joe Nemechek for a spot, who was in 19th at the time, now moving Truex to 19th. .185 that last lap for Truex as well. 200 laps to go this time by. That's the length of last night's Busch Series race, still from the finish of this race tonight. Over an hour in, definitely still a long ways from the end. Swap back to Michael Waltrip now for the final time in this race, who is in the 34th place position still. Dale Jr.'s definitely pulled away from the 15 car after passing him. As before, Waltrip's got a good run. He's actually going to get to the outside of the 00 car of Kenny Wallace. Power move by Waltrip, getting around on the outside. So over half the field is a lap down. Quite a few of them that I've noticed are non-chase drivers. Problematic again for Dale Jr. He gets to the outside of John Andretti off turn 4. So Waltrip trying to make another pass up high into turns 1 and 2. We'll see if he can do it. Looks like he's going to. Michael Waltrip making some power moves up high. Gets down to the bottom underneath his teammate Dale Jr. Now quickly to the inside of Shane Meal in the 08. Underneath the 11 car of Jason Leffler. A slide job for 28th. Into turns 1 and 2. Go back to Dale Jr. next lap. Car's up for position just up ahead. And we'll stick with Dale Jr. for the rest of this race now. Not the dark red yet on the fuel indicator. Dale Jr. rides in 30th. Again, main priority, get a top 10 finish ahead of Jeff Gordon. If he wins, that's just an added bonus, really, especially the way tonight's gone so far. He hasn't led laps on normal speed, only off of strategy alone. Led 2 green flag laps today, and the rest were under caution. I think he's probably led 5 or less laps all day total. Just got to the inside of Brian Vickers. A little contact up the track they both go. Clearance for 29th for Dale Jr. Dale Jr. is going to pit this time by lap 140. Got to the dark red on the fuel indicator too. So Dale Jr. is going to go a second lap down. A little arrow loose from the 11 of Leffler. Jr.'s got to get down to the bottom. Had to make the late dive. Somehow found a quick opening in a hole to get to the inside and get to pit road. 4 tires and fuel for Dale Jr. No adjustments. Matt Kenseth. Oh, sorry. No, I think that's Jimmy Spencer. I thought it was Kenseth for a second, but then when I got alongside, I think I saw the 50. And I do see the dual sponsorship on the side of one of the pit boxes yet. So Jimmy Spencer is the only car presumably out of today's race with an engine failure. I think there's still 42 cars on racetrack right now. 17.4 second stop. No mistakes at least. Dale Jr.'s picker has been on it in the chase. I'll give him that. And so far on it tonight, there are 2 stops for fuel and tires. 3 cautions per incident. Dale Jr. is going to be 42nd last on track, 2 laps down. So, yep, Spencer is the only car out of the race. Now Dale Jr.'s got the freshest tires in the field, and everybody else is going to be pitting probably in the next 30 laps, if I had to guess, maybe even less than that. This caution came out about lap 93. Saw drivers pit just before that, obviously, who are the ones that are a lap down, and the drivers that pitted during the caution are on the lead lap. The lead lap car is probably already going to be able to go a little further than the lead lap cars, with that being said. Clean air for Dale Jr. where he cycled out of. A little gap, that'll catch 3 cars, and I'll have another big gap before a couple more cars, and another gap after that if he even catches all of them prior to pit stops. Yeah, big thing here for Dale Jr. is just hope if a caution comes out, you have the free pass. Otherwise, he's pretty much going to run the rest of this race a lap down, which he could still get a top 20 finish out of. We got trouble. Caution's out. Turn 1, and there's another couple cars in the wall. Turns 1 and 2, and that's going to trap Dale Jr. 2 laps down. Jason Leffler is upside down. Massive crash for the 11 of Leffler. I don't know what happened there, but he is on... Oh, sorry, that's Kenny Schrader. Schrader was riding upside down on his roof. I saw smoke going into turn 1. I don't know how it happened, but Kenny Schrader upside down. A few other cars piled in behind on Scott Riggs. And Dale Jr. is 2 laps down at Charlotte. It doesn't look like anybody's going to hit pit road here, so he's going to come back in and top off. He'll take 4... Oh, no, they will pit! No! Oh, it looked like they were staying out. It looked as if they were staying out. They were going to all pit, and everybody's going to be on the same fuel strategy again. Oh, that is unbelievable. Abort. Junior's not going to pick up every spot here, but that is costly for Earnhardt. There's already drivers leaving their pit boxes. Oh, crash on pit road. Mike Bliss just got caught up in an accident there. I don't know who tried to come in as he was leaving his pit box, but there was a wreck that stalled the 0 of Bliss out. That's a tough break for Mike Bliss. That's going to cost him a lot of spots on pit road. I mean, Junior was going to have to pit anyway. I mean, by the time the caution came out, he would have already been on pit road. He maybe could have stretched it a couple laps further. That was a terrible timing caution. He's back on the same fuel strategy, but now he is 2 laps down. Carl Edwards wins the race off pit road to take the lead away from Ryan Newman, and the green flag is back in the air. Well, now this is almost a death sentence for Dale Jr. in this race. I don't know how he's going to get back on the lead lap. He's going to have to unlap himself the old-fashioned way, then get into the free pass position as well. It looks like Kenny Schrader's still in the race after flipping. Slow car front stretch almost gets ran over by the field. Junior to the outside of Scott Wimmer. Ended up in the wall. Now another car's blowing up. Caution's out, back in the pack. Oh my goodness, there's debris. Kenny Schrader just blew an engine. I don't know what that was, but there was carnage everywhere. And the debris is going to come off the 120 car, it looks like, for our 5th caution of the race. Kenny Schrader was still running after flipping. They rolled him back over. He was continuing. 2 laps later, he blows an engine. A lap after another car blew an engine, almost got ran over on the front stretch by oncoming traffic. Junior just missed him to the inside, and Junior's going to top off on fuel now. Well, now we know everybody's going to stay out for sure because they just pitted. So Junior might as well pit. He was off strategy before. He's really going to have to go off strategy now depending on how these cautions play out the rest of this race. He's got less than 200 laps to make up 2 full laps on the field here. He's got a top 5 race car at speed, but I don't think he's got a race-winning car. I think Carl Edwards has the fastest car in the field. I think Junior's got a top 5 car. He's probably 2nd through 5th, somewhere in there, along with the other points leaders, Johnson, Gordon. Kurt Busch was up there early. Those are probably the guys that he could compete with on speed. Edwards would be the one that's going to be tough to beat. Junior's going to have to find a way to get some laps back. Going off strategy is probably going to be the best way to do it. He's going to have to hope for timely yellows, which is unfortunate because all the cautions so far today have been untimely for Dale Jr. That one really didn't help or hurt him. He's only going to have about 2 lap fresher tires on the rest of the field right now. Looks like Boris said got the free pass. With every caution that comes out, that gives one more car the free pass. That's less cars that are one lap down. The green flag is back in the air. You can obviously see this inside line is still very long. And Elliott Sadler took the lead right before the caution came out on Carl Edwards. And Elliott Sadler is leading at Charlotte. Trying to get his first win of the season. He's 11th in points coming in. Junior's got to go. He can't be patient now, which is unfortunate because it's so hard to pass at Charlotte. It's so hard not to clip the apron. What's going to happen on this restart now? It's up to 40th. The only reason he's in 40th is because those two drivers that blew an engine, so that does give Dale Jr. 2 more spots. I think both the cars that blew up were a lap down also. So it's even less cars that are 1 lap down. Greg Biffle stuck on the outside. None of these passes are going to be for position. Dale Jr. is the only car 2 laps down. Everybody else is either on the lead lap or 1 down. He's going to be able to go at least a few laps further on field than everybody else in case we get another caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. Dale Jr. going to have the comeback of his life if he's going to want to win this race tonight. This is going to hurt him in the championship standings too, even if he just finishes outside the top 10. 5 races to go after this. We're going to see what Dale Jr.'s made of. If he's going to win the championship, he's going to have a massive comeback tonight. Second day in a row at Charlotte, he's trying to defy the odds. He was able to finish 3rd in the Busch race. If it finished like that today, he would welcome it with open arms. Just knocked the 14 of John Andretti into the wall. He didn't want to lift. Got into the left rear corner panel as he washed up the track into Andretti, and Andretti got in the wall. Lost a little bit of track position. A couple cars looking to get around him for positions as well further back. See, with Junior being the only car 2 laps down, every time there's a caution, he's going to have to restart at the tail of the field every single time, so you might as well pit. The only reason that hurt before that with everybody pitting during the second to last caution is because he could have taken the wave around and gotten a lap back, but unfortunately, he didn't realize they were all pitting. Junior had a run on the front stretch. 77 car pulled down to make the pass on the 00 of Kenny Wallace. Terry Labonte in the 44, just a couple of cars in front of Dale Jr. right now. Caution in the middle of green flag stops. Trapped Jr. 1 lap down. Another caution in the middle of his green flag stop has trapped him 2 laps down. That is why he is as far back in the field for those of you just tuning in for the first time tonight, or maybe coming back after watching earlier in the race, wondering what happened. Last you were watching, Junior was probably in 2nd place. He's got Terry Labonte in the 44 under him. Very surprised Labonte didn't take a swing at Earnhardt. Earnhardt appreciates it as he'll pass Labonte cleanly through turns 1 and 2. Again, the only cars Dale Jr.'s ahead of in this race are the 3 drivers who have blown engines. Kenny Schrader after flipping, which brought out the 2nd yellow, which trapped Jr. 2 laps down. Still don't know how it happened. It was probably contact with the 120, considering the 120 had debris. Which brought out the next yellow a couple laps after the last restart. Junior slides up in front of Mark Martin in the 6. Just getting to the inside of the 31. Jeff Burton. Dale Jr.'s definitely making moves on this restart. Well, spoke too soon. He's in the wall again. Around goes the 31. It's going to turn him down the track, and up and over goes Earnhardt. He has DNF'd at Charlotte, I believe. No, he is not. I thought he did. I thought he DNF'd there. Just got tight. Up and over he went. I thought the car had DNF'd. From bad to worse for Dale Jr. He's on his lid in the 3rd chase race already, out of 5. Hung up on the 31. I might as well DNF at this point. I mean, I don't want to just phone it in. The championship on the line is the only reason I'm not phoning it in. But, I mean, can this race get any worse for Dale Jr.? Without DNFing, it can. There's no way this could get any worse. Enormous crash. Charlotte and Dover. My worst nemesis on this game. Crazy. Green flag back in the air. And I believe that last caution was number 6 in this race. So we are about halfway home. There's definitely speed wrecked out of the race car now after the damage from the flip from Dale Jr. Elliott Sadler, Carl Edwards battling for the lead again at the front of the field on the restart. So they run side by side on the back straightaway. Worst race in the chase. This is the worst race I've probably... Well, caution, hang on. Something has happened in turns 3 and 4. Another yellow is out. Dale Jr. could pit. He could get more fuel, fresher tires. It looks like it's debris off the 43 of Jeff Green. His hood has come off the exit of turn 4, causing caution number 7 tonight at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Outsider, thanks for tuning into the stream as well. Ford EcoBoost Cup Series as well, welcome into the stream. Junior's definitely got to top off on fuel. Try to game the strategy. Maybe he gets a couple cautions going his way. About the only thing he can hope for. Better be lucky than good. And Junior's going to have to be lucky now because he's been unlucky in the first half of this race. Lucky to still be running. That's the only luck he has had. But yeah, he'll top off on fuel. 4 fresh tires. No limit to tires in the Cup Series in this game, luckily for us. Well, Patrick, we had 2 cautions in the middle of green flag pit stops that trapped me a lap down each time. That's why I'm 2 laps down. And an aggressive manner trying to get back through the field, I unfortunately flipped. Again, that was very similar to the first accident with John Hamilton, where Dale Jr. was on the inside of him and ended up getting tight up into the track. Sorry, not Hamilton, but the 120 car in the Cup Series. Whoever that guy was, I can't remember his name, but like Clayton or something, I don't know. That's probably not it. But whoever that 120 car was, and I ended up getting tight into him because he squeezed me. That's basically what just happened there with Jeff Burton, who was on the outside that time. And now this car doesn't have any speed at all, but it'll top it off on fuel with that caution coming out from debris. Might see some more yellows still coming out after that major wreck in turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. flipped at Charlotte in the 600. He DNF'd. DNF's here today. It could cost him a championship, although he's already in 40th. I don't think it could. He would finish 40th if he did DNF right now, so I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. Wouldn't lose any more spots. Hindsight's 20/20, obviously. It looks like Mike Bliss just got the free pass with that last caution, so he's back on the lead lap. Bliss going to try to get back in it. Dale Jr. gets to the inside right in front of Bliss. He's holding him up. Jr. trying to get to the inside of the 120 car. Just in front of him. Contact up into the 120. Side drafting Bliss. Will block on the 120 car into turns 3 and 4. That was Junior. He thought he was clear. He was not. I think he was clear if he moved down going into the corner or coming off the exit of the corner, but he waited until middle of the back straightaway to move down on the 120, and he was not clear. Tony Stewart to the lead for the first time today. That's going to get smoked. 5 bonus points. 20 car finally gets to the inside of Dale Jr. Jr. trying to hang on to the outside. The race car that's pretty much got 0 downforce left after flipping. And 0 engine power. Top end speed at 181 miles an hour into turn 1 that time. All he could get out of the race car right now. The 120 Mr. Clean Car passes you. It's that kind of a day. Yeah, considering there's not many generated drivers in the Cup Series in this game per race. Yeah, it is kind of one of those days. No other chase drivers are out either. Junior would be the only one. Next chase race will be at Martinsville next week. 500 lapper in the Subway 500. 120 was putting so much pressure on him trying to pass him. Just for Dale Jr. to run in line behind the 120 being held up. He just doesn't have enough straightaway speed with the wreck. It's fine middle of the corner on speed. Tony Stewart coming off a second place finish at Kansas is only top 10 of the chase so far, looking to back that up with a potential win today. Carl Edwards has had the best car in the field, but he has lost a little ground on this most recent restart. $30 likes on the stream so far. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get further into this 500-mile race. UAW GM Quality 500 at Charlotte Lowe's Motor Speedway in this one. Junior following the 120 to catch the back of the pack again. Junior continues to follow him as he gets by Scott Wimmer. Underneath the 08, I believe, Sheen Neal. 120 goes a bit wide through 3 of 4. Junior going to get underneath and finally and quickly to the inside of the 44 of Terry Labonte. Labonte not taking a swing at Dale Jr. despite the fact that these two aren't too fond of each other right now. Junior on the inside through 1 and 2, slides clear of the 44. Hamilton got stuck on the outside behind Labonte, and the two cars he passed a couple laps before that of Shane Meal and Scott Wimmer are going to get right back around him. One car in the wall. Turns 1 and 2. They did not wreck. They're 3 wide off the exit of the corner now. It's Jeff Burton in the 31 who's on the outside. I think John Andretti checked up just in case Dale Jr. didn't, and he was able to pass Andretti on the inside. Burton gets loose off turn 4 again. That 31 car is struggling right now. It's involved in the last accident as well. Series should be called Do It for Almost Dale. Typical season for Dale Jr. It's the only time we can drive as Dale Jr. too, with you guys voting for him. Can't get the revote in future classic games, so it's the only chance we have of getting Dale Jr.'s first Cup title. A lot of battling for position going on up ahead. And Dale Jr.'s not really closing in. Like that alone should go to tell you how much speed is taken out of this 8 car right now. Again, the good news is with that debris caution for Jeff Green, he was able to pit for fuel and tires. I would probably imagine Dale Jr. could go about 10 laps further on fuel, maybe 15 laps further on fuel than anybody else. The hope is that everybody pits and then the caution comes out before Dale Jr. ends up having to make his next stop. Entire field would have pitted, I believe, 3 times today. Jr. total 4, pitting under the last couple cautions. We had 8 Busch Series cautions in a 200-lap race. Today we've had 7 so far in this 500-mile race. We're not even 300 miles in. Tonight's trivia question on the channel is this, means we have not asked it yet. Who is the only driver to win at the Charlotte Motor Speedway from the pole in a Ford? That is tonight's trivia question. Who is the only driver to win in a Ford at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Cup Series from the pole? Hint will be at lap 192 if you don't get it before then. John Andretti putting a lot of pressure right now on Dale Jr. Jeff Burton almost squeezed into the wall by the 77 of Travis Quaffle. Andretti looking to the outside in turns 1 and 2. Jr. going to stay up in front of him as he slides wide on entry into the corner. Undercut by the 14, not going to get there. It is not Greg Biffle. And it is not Carl Edwards. It's not Joey Logano. It's not Kyle Larson. Larson never drove a Ford. Oh, contact off turn 4. One car goes low. After contact with Kenny Wallace in the 00, Dale Jr. got around the outside of the car that went down towards the grass on the front stretch trying to save it. I think it was Kyle Petty, but I'm not entirely sure. And then Dale Jr. right in line behind the 00 car was on the inside, but didn't have enough straightaway speed to stay in front of him even after the contact and the slowdown by the 00 of Wallace. Not Kevin Harvick either. It is lap 192. Your hint, it is before the modern era. That is tonight's hint. So the only driver to win at Charlotte from the pole in a Ford was before the modern era. I can't give you the year. That'd be too easy of a hint. Maybe not in this case, but yeah, before modern era is what you're looking for. Up 195 would be the answer if you guys can't get it before then. Not Ricky Rudd, not Dale Jarrett. I'll pause it on the back straight away so I can double check my answer because I honestly can't remember it, but I know it hasn't been anybody that's been said yet. Not Carl Edwards. Okay, I've got it. I doubt anybody's going to get the answer. Junior to the inside of Kenny Wallace. Into turns 1 and 2. Dale's still down low. Gets around the 00. Quickly gets to the inside of the 77 of Travis Kvapil. And he'll be on the inside of the 77 car still into turns 3 and 4. It's not Fireball Roberts. Not Ned Jarrett, not Ryan Newman or Greg Biffle. Not Tim Richmond. Not Joe Weatherly. Nobody has gotten it through 195 laps. Or lap 195, or actually coming to lap 197 this time. The answer to tonight's trivia question was Fred Lorenzen. And he actually did it twice in back-to-back years in 1955 and 1956. 56, it was the Coke 600. Or sorry, 65 and 66, not 55 and 56. 65 and 66 were the years. 66 was the 600. But Fred Lorenzen, the only driver to do it, and he had done it twice, back-to-back races at Charlotte. It was a tough question. I was shocked, though, when I saw that. I was like, man, he's the only Ford to win from the pole at Charlotte. And for it to be that long ago, too. And by the way, the modern era started in 1971. So pre-modern era would have had to have been 71 or before. I think 72 was the start of the modern era. 72 or 73, so pretty much from the early 70s to before that. Coming to lap 200 this time by. Wonder if there's a chance Dale Jr. can make this race on one less stop to gain some positions that way also. Kenny Wallace to the inside in turns 3 and 4. So you're trying to get down onto the inside behind Wallace. He does. Great job of doing so right in front of the 77 of Kvapil. Considering Junior's 2 laps down, we're actually at lap 202 right now. I remember that race. Probably wasn't even on TV. They didn't even start airing flag-to-flag coverage till 79, so I doubt you saw the race. Even if you were old enough, unless you were there. Junior's having a hard time trying to hang on to his car right now with the 77 all tucked up under the back bumper. He just ran a 30.269 that last lap, one of his fastest laps in some time. I feel like you would have remembered the answer, though, if you were there. Waffle looking to the inside in turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. going a bit wide. Jr. hanging on to his race car. Not going to be as loose with nobody behind him as he follows Quaffle again. I think he's pretty much passed every single car he's faster than with this damage, which has only been about 4 or 5 cars since the restart. Few and far between, that is for certain. Remember, Carl Edwards was in the free pass position when the caution came out earlier today, the first time in the middle of green flag pit stops. I say that because he has been challenging for the lead on these last few restarts. To be right back up in contention, it's a little bit of a drive from Edwards to get back through the field. Halfway on field for Dale Jr. Junior got tight, into the 109, making a bit of contact, into the wall he goes. So we stay green. Cost him just enough momentum that even on the straightaways, I don't know if he's close enough to stay behind Quaffle anymore. Got a car pitting off turn 4, a couple of them. Junior just halfway through the run, too. He's probably going to be able to go close to about lap 240 before he has to pit yet. Again, can't have a caution until everybody pits. Large line of cars making their way in this time off turn 4. The reason why I say that is because Dale Jr. would be just 1 lap down if it happens. The later into the run, the better for Earnhardt. That way he can have that many more laps of fuel than the rest of the field. Again, with being well outside the window to make it to the end of the race yet, as we still have more than 100 laps to go. Still a 2-stopper to the end for everybody else, as well as Dale Jr. I should say a 2-stopper for Dale Jr. Everybody else at least 1, maybe 2. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car down on the bottom of the track. Dale Jr. is going to be above him getting into turns 3 and 4. I'll turn down in line behind him. Tighten the car up for Junior, being in line behind the 29, although Harvick on much fresher tires probably going to be able to pull away, I'd imagine. Pop up, hang on, get that off my screen so that way I can see you guys in the chat. It's your chance, yep. Kurt Busch is in the lead right now. Still not every lead lap car is pit. First time Kurt Busch has led today, so 5 bonus points for another driver in the top 5 in the standings. The only driver in the top 5 in points who hasn't led today is Jimmy Johnson, who came in 3rd in points. Truex just cycling out of the pits up ahead. I wonder if he's still lapped down or if he's gotten the free pass, because he was up to 19th at one point. At least 4 more, maybe more cars than that pitting. Michael Waltrip's in. Kurt Busch is in. Dale Jr. is 1 lap down now. So now a caution can come out any time between now and when Dale Jr. pits next. Would be ideal. Dale Jr., by the way, is up to 21st. I don't think he's the first car lap down. That would be even better if a caution came out if he was in the free pass position. That could get him both lap backs with just 1 caution rather than hoping for 2. We'll see. More cars still coming out of the pits yet that are a lap down that Dale Jr. will pass. Is Dale Jr. in the free pass position is what he has to hope for right now. Especially if we get a caution. At least he gets 1 lap back no matter what with the yellow. But if he's in the free pass position on top of it, that helps even more. Mike Bliss in the 0, closing in from behind. We know he got back on the lead lap at the free pass earlier at one point. Into turns 1 and 2. Jr. going a bit wide. Middle of the corner. And he's up into the wall. It's going to cost him a corner exit. I would assume Jimmy Johnson's on the lead lap. Johnson to the outside of Dale Jr. Dale Jarrett now to the inside of the 48 as Johnson could stick the outside to get by Earnhardt. Guys on much fresher tires. Definitely blowing by Dale Jr. Dale Jarrett on the inside of the 8. Jarrett was not for a spot. He is on the lead lap. I would assume Johnson's on the lead lap too. A 30 to 35 lap pressure tires at least for everybody else in the field. Plus Junior had one of the slowest cars after his wreck anyway. Dale Jarrett not pulling too far ahead of Dale Jr. Jr. still ran a 30.349 that last lap. Sandwiched between the 88 and the 48. Junior arrow loose off turn 4 at the 48 right behind him. Skirted the rear tires. Held on to it. He wouldn't get the free pass if he's the one involved in the accident. By the way, Tony Stewart did cycle back into the lead following green flag pit stops. He was leading just before the stops themselves started. Worth noting, as Stewart is one of the chase drivers. Johnson again getting the 8-car arrow loose. Problematic right now for the 8 of Dale Jr. Doing a good job hanging on to it, but it's burning the rear tires off the car much quicker. Every big slide he has like that. Quarter of a tank of gas left for Dale Jr. That's it. At this point in the run. The track he goes as he got air loose again for the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. And again, Johnson looking for a run around the 8. Jimmy taking a peek to the outside. Junior slides and washes up in front of him. Doesn't get majorly aero loose that time, but Jimmy Johnson does get to the inside of Dale Jr. Will clear him into turn 3. Johnson is not for position. Junior will sit in line in front of the 48, or behind the 48, in front of the 42 of Jamie McMurray. And now the next car back with being McMurray is McMurray on the lead lap, or is he a lap down? With Junior being the free pass position ahead of the 42 car. Can't tell who's directly in line behind the 42 right now either, but there is another car right there also. Right rear is really wearing out on the 8. Bliss has caught somebody trying to make a pass for position up ahead. Jimmy Johnson on the apron. See, Johnson doesn't spin out on the apron either. It's just Dale Jr. that has that problem. It's the third car I've seen have that. Wait for Tony to pit, then go with him. I can't. We're not going to make it that far. So everybody else has already cycled through green flag pit stops except for Dale Jr., who was the only car that pitted during the last caution, which was the 7th of the race. Jr. quickly losing time to the 48. He's got 3 cars behind him. Looks to be Travis Quaffle, Jamie McMurray, Matt Kenseth. Kenseth has just passed Quaffle through 1 and 2. Jamie McMurray's the next car behind Dale Jr. Jr. gets aero loose on entry through 3 and 4. 42 right behind him. He doesn't know who was all on the lead lap. He can't afford to have these guys get around him in case we finally get that caution. Junior with a block on the front stretch, hangs on in front of the 42 for at least another lap. Junior gets aero loose again off turn 2, stays in the gas, kept it off the wall, stays in front of McMurray. Blocking the 42 of McMurray into 3 and 4. Junior up the track again. McMurray looking to get around in the 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. He's on the inside. That is not for position. Junior will fall in line right in front of Quaffle in the 77 now. And the rookie looks to the outside into turns 1 and 2. It's going to allow Kenseth to get to the bottom. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left now for Dale Jr. Kenseth has cleared Quaffle for position. Whether that is for position a lap down or position on the lead lap, we're not entirely sure. Junior picked it back up a little bit again, 30.494. Quaffle gets back around Kenseth as the 17 and 77 continue to battle, allowing Junior to stay in front of him a little bit better. Junior's somewhat keeping pace with Jamie McMurray in front of him as well. Going a bit wide. Bottom open through 3 and 4. Quaffle can't get underneath though. Left rear starting to wear out on the 8 as well. Mentioned Junior could go to at least lap 230. It's at lap 231 right now. Junior desperate to try and stay in as much draft on the straightaways as possible with the 42 car. More so in the back straightaway. Again, with the kink on the front stretch, he can try to take the shortest way around. 3.329 that last lap for Dale Jr. Picked up a bunch. Kind of out of nowhere on that last lap. He's had nothing but 2 bad timingly cautions today. It'd be fitting if he gets at least 1 caution to go his way. And that is what he is hoping for right now. He's going to take this run as far as he absolutely can before hitting pit road. And as of right now, we have exactly 100 laps to go when Tony Stewart hits the start-finish line. Oh, it's not Quaffle, it's Rusty. Thanks for that. I didn't realize it. Probably the Kodak paint scheme then for Rusty Wallace. Maybe the Penske rental cars paint scheme perhaps as well. Thought it was Quaffle the whole time. And now the fuel indicator's in dark red. This would be the biggest timing caution for Dale Jr. because it's towards the end of his fuel run, as he's only going to be able to go a few more laps. Matt Kenseth losing pace from Rusty Wallace, Jamie McMurray, Dale Jr. all of a sudden. Glad you pointed that out. I probably wouldn't have realized that, honestly. Right front in the yellow. And Junior up into the wall now as well, off turn 4. Still ran a 33. Probably could have been a 32. Junior going to stay out again this time by. Going wide through 1 and 2. He's going to stay in front of Rusty into turns 3 and 4. Junior will stay out 1 more lap. Really risking it in case we get a caution. He'll pit this time by at lap 238. Exactly 94 laps to go right now for the leaders. Junior went wide. He's not going to pit this time either. He'll go to lap 239. 93 laps to go. Ran a 30.388 that last lap. Junior's really stretched it. He went wide, and Rusty Wallace was lurking to the inside, so that's why Junior didn't pit that time. He's going to make it off turn 2. He is really stretching this fuel tank out. He's definitely going to have to pit this time. Glad he went the extra lap, though, just in case, and now he's out of fuel. Into turns 3 and 4. He went as far as he could. It's not going to cost him too much time. This will not cost Junior too much time. Has to make sure he does not speed, and he will not. He's on to pit road. He went as far as he possibly could. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments for Dale Jr. I did what I could there, guys. That was the moment of truth. There's still going to be one more chance that could happen, but unfortunately it's going to be late enough in the race that everybody's going to be able to make it on fuel to the end of the race once it happens again. But at least he could get back on the lead lap. So that's the first of 2 attempts for Dale Jr. to get back on the lead lap at the very least in this race. It's going to be a 4-tire stop. He's going to go right back to being 2 laps down again. 19.9 seconds. A lot of damage still from that flip earlier that they were trying to repair on the 8 car, and back onto the racetrack he goes. So again, 2 laps down is Dale Jr. He's the only car 2 laps down still. Dale Jr.'s got the freshest tires in the field. Gets to the inside of John Andretti on the front stretch. So now he needs this to go green until everybody else pits again. In the meantime, we'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. Another spot picked up. I think somebody else has blown an engine. Dale Jr. is now up to 39. Nobody was on pit road. Might be another car blowing up somewhere around the racetrack. We don't see Jr. into the wall. That's a few more points, at the very least. I don't want a yellow now. We're still going to be 2 laps down. That's not going to do anything. I'm not causing the yellow either. Still a mystery as to how Kenny Schrader flipped. That caused Dale Jr. to go that second lap down. Dale Jr. really just going to kind of ride in line behind John Andretti. He's got no incentive to pass him right now and force himself into a major mistake, causing a caution. A yellow now would keep Dale Jr. 2 laps down. He really needs to just go long enough into this field run that everybody else pits again, gets back to 1 lap down, and hopes he's the first car 1 lap down at the time of pit stops. I feel like 18th is the free pass position, too. I'm not 100% sure, obviously, but Truex was in 19th at one point earlier. We've had a few cars get back on the lead lap because of a couple cautions. And Dale Jr. was still 2 laps down at 2 debris yellows, so I'm not going to doubt that that is probably the spot you're going to have to be in if a caution comes out to get back on the lead lap. Carjoy, thanks for tuning in. I mean, this kind of goes back, though, if you think about it, the 2 spins that Dale Jr. did have on his own clipping the apron earlier, it didn't even cost him anything, because hindsight being 2020, the reason why he's 2 laps down is because of cautions in the middle of green flag pit stops in which he had already pitted. So at least it was kind of out of his hands, so he can't really beat himself up about what has happened here. Sometimes just on the bad end of luck, which is a part of racing. Sometimes you kind of create your own luck, but tonight's case, it's not really the case for Dale Jr., unfortunately. Just ran a 30.238 that last lap in line behind the 14 of John Andretti. Sounds like somebody else just blew an engine as well. Dale Jr. now up to 38th. Nobody on pit road. Some drivers have blown an engine here in recent laps that have allowed Dale Jr. to pick up a couple more spots. Hoping they were cars that were on the lead lap already. Just in case Dale Jr. could get back on the lead lap later. It's 2 less cars he would have to pass. That's a big if, though. He's obviously running out of time. We have less than 90 laps to go now for him to get back on the lead lap. Yeah, see, exactly. At least we didn't DNF when we flipped, because that's 2 more spots we've gained, which is better than nothing. Dale Jr. on the inside of the 14, briefly off turn 4. Hops back in line behind him, though, into turns 1 and 2. Junior with the damage able to keep up with him because he has fresher tires than Andretti right now. A lot of cars battling for position up ahead. Never know what could exactly cause the caution. If it does stay green to the end of this race, we're going to go about half the race caution free to the finish, which would be about 160 to 170 laps. Definitely would be the worst finish in the chase so far. The only other thing is it a one-stop race to the end for everybody else? We know it is for Dale Jr. at this point. He's going to be able to go anywhere between 20 to 30 to go before he ends up having to make his final stop. Is everybody else going to pit before the window opens to the end of this race? And if so, that could get Dale Jr. at least the top 20 finish off of that alone. Even if he doesn't finish lead lap, he would finish 1 lap down if that were the case. Also, with this long green flag run, though, I'm starting to think 18th is going to be in the free pass spot by the time everybody else pits, just because Tony Stewart's probably got a lot more cars. Oh, trouble off turn 4. Hopefully we stay green. Junior goes into the grass to miss everybody. Jeff Green made contact right in front of Earnhardt and Andretti. Andretti had to check up. Junior just got to the grass in time, held on to his car. Might wear out the tires a little bit. We do stay green, no caution. And Carl Edwards has just taken the lead simultaneously as that happened, away from Tony Stewart at the front of the field. If that would have brought out the caution, Junior would still be 2 laps down. We have less than 80 laps to go right now. That's the second time we've nearly seen a wreck during this long green flag run, not that far in front of Dale Jr. both times. Nobody directly around him for the time being. By himself, he's kind of running little bit slower than what he was in line behind Andretti, where he was running at least 33s consistently. Now he's running 37s. He's so slow top end speed going into the corner, where he was still hitting about 190 to 192 into turn 3. Now he's hitting 182. Clip the apron, he's going to go up the track. It turns 3 and 4. He keeps it off the wall. Scott Riggs in the 10 car is going to get underneath him, though. So side by side for position on the front stretch. Not for position anyway. Might as well let Riggs go, and at least Junior didn't wreck off the apron that time. Went up the track rather than just right around. Ride in line, can't talk, behind Scott Riggs. Now he's just trusting Riggs not to get majorly loose. No cars on pit road for a scheduled pit stop, all trying to make it on fuel to the end of the race. Are they in the window to be able to make it on one more stop? We know Dale Jr. is. But he's the only one that is certified into making it that far. 70 laps to go for Dale Jr. this time by. Which means that we have 68 laps to go as we run right now. Well, Truex is in the playoffs if we don't get a new winner. That'd be the ultimate FU to Toyota, is if they did that. Kurt Busch isn't going to be in the playoffs, and then another driver wins, knocking Truex out, then that means Toyota lost their opportunity to get another car in the playoffs. Unless Bubba Wallace wins, that'd be the only option in which, or Truex, if we did get a new winner, but I mean, Truex could still point his way in. It's definitely not impossible to. Especially at Daytona if there's a wreck early. That takes plenty out of stage points and he has a bad finish on top of it. Truex can outpoint his way. He's less than a half race worth of points. He's 25 out. He's likely going to have to score some stage points. But if he can outscore Blaney quite a bit in the stages, make it to maybe single digits, that'd be something. We do have one car on pit road right now. 33 flat that last lap for Dale Jr., but there is a car on pit road. About 65 laps to go. Is the window open to the end of the race for everybody pitting right now? Is the next question. I'm sure there's going to be some drivers that are going to go quite a bit further on fuel. More drivers pitting over recent laps. Junior up a couple spots. Junior not quite halfway on fuel yet. Truex is in this time. Toyota stands for fix it again, Tony. Can't wait for the race to be over. You and me both. I still have to work tomorrow. This is a late night, starting this race an hour and 15 minutes later. I still have to work out tonight, too. I will. I'm energized enough, I will do it, but the detriment of probably only getting 5 hours of sleep tonight as a result. .215 that last lap for Dale Jr., even with all the damage. Borseg gonna pit this time. Scott Riggs, we know, still has to pit right in front of Dale Jr. yet. Kurt Busch back in the lead for the second different time today, both times during green flag pit stops, so that means Tony Stewart has pitted recently, as well as Carl Edwards, who were running 1-2. Looks like Riggs may be pitting this time. So get to the inside of Bobby Labonte, and he'll get to pit road. Jr. will draft behind chaser Bobby Labonte. Still ran a 33 that last lap. 33.3. Junior hasn't clipped the apron and spun out as a result of it since before lap 70. He's really cleaned it up in the second half of this race, just had some untimely cautions afterwards. He has just cycled ahead. I couldn't tell if that was Rusty Wallace or Travis Crawford, but if it was Rusty Wallace, this is right back in the same position Dale Jr. was in earlier. Difference is he's got a little help in front of him with Bobby Labonte still there, and he's just now hit halfway through his run. Jamie McMurray leads for the first time today. So he's still awaiting to hit pit road. Not everybody has pitted yet from the lead lap. Cy Z, thanks for tuning into the stream. Michael Waltrip on his way in. Another spot for Dale Jr. Waltrip was one lap down already anyway. Junior cycles ahead of Robbie Gordon, which would have been a spot. I mean, it's possible these cars in front of Dale Jr. are for position. If so, Junior needs to get by him if we did get a caution for him to get the free pass and get both of his 2 laps back. Labonte working his way to the inside of one car, who I believe is Casey Kane. The other car is Jason Leffler. Junior just ran his fastest lap of the race at last time, a 30.126. That is a blistering fast lap by Dale Jr. That pass on Casey Kane, by the way, for position. Pass on Jason Leffler through 3 and 4, not for position. So Leffler on the lead lap. Oh, man, Orr has not pitted yet. Junior gets a little loose. Making the block a little too early on Leffler. He's still trying to catch the car into turns 1 and 2. Oh, and he's in the wall now. That's going to cost him a lot of time. He's losing positions. Contact with Waltrip, and he's hung up on him. That costed Earnhardt majorly. It's a mistimed block off turn 4. Hole wasn't open. Notorious, thanks for tuning into the stream. One lap after Junior runs his fastest lap of the race. He was committed to just following Bobby Labonte, and hopes that Labonte wasn't a lap down. I mean, it's all going to be for naught if Labonte was a lap down anyway. But if he's not, and right where Rusty Wallace is up ahead is the free pass spot, Junior needs to find a way to get up there, and he doesn't have the horsepower on his own to do it. Which means he's going to have to let a car in line behind him get in front of him, and then they try to get up there, and then he makes those passes back again. And then hope for another caution. So as the 40 car of Sterling Marlin goes low into turns 1 and 2, he'll get underneath Dale Jr. Marlin is actually on the lead lap. That was not a position. Marlin is on the lead lap. Jeff Burton's a rival behind the 8 of Dale Jr., so he's definitely not going to want to lose a spot to Burton. So Marlin is on the lead lap. Definitely somebody he can work with. Try to get those spots back and then hope for a caution. A caution comes out, he does get 1 lap back. It's better than not getting any laps back, but if he can get the free pass and get both back under the same yellow. Obviously, again, that would be more ideal. .3 instead of those 36s and 37s when he was running by himself. These guys are battling side by side up here too and racing each other. Ashton, thanks for tuning in. He's tight in the dirty air. He gets somebody close enough behind him. He's loose. His car is just terrible in the handling department. 50 laps to go at Charlotte in this 500-mile race. Clips the apron. That's going to do it. I mean, there's no chance he's going to get back on the lead lap now. But the hardest he has pushed a car all day, and he's made 2 mistakes again after doing so. This is just one of those races you have to ride around 75% to not make a mistake. And you're not going to win if you do that, but you can at least get a better finish than what Dale Jr.'s running in now, and he just lost 3 more spots because that hit into the wall. Prefer the Roval or the Oval? For Prestige, I mean, I prefer the Coke 600. I understand the Roval's purpose, and honestly, as somebody that doesn't like when they go to tracks more than once during the season, I'm alright with it if there's a different layout. Like with Charlotte having the Roval, so for that reason, I would prefer Charlotte to keep the Roval, as long as they'll have 2 dates. Which, I mean, they pretty much will. It's NASCAR's headquarters. They'll have at least 2. If they were going to get another Oval race, you know, bring the All-Star race back to Charlotte. Mark Martin, by the way, is on the lead lap. He is not a lap down. Carl Edwards leads this race, trying to get his 6th win in his rookie season and trying to get his 1st win in the chase. And dependent on where Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon are running, can Edwards go from 4th to 1st in the point standings in this one race. Edwards has been the guy to beat on the mile and a half this season. I'm pretty sure he's won at Atlanta. He definitely won the first mile and a half race at Vegas, I remember early in the year. He might have won Texas also. He has won a lot of his races, a mile and a half, and he's looking to win another one tonight. At least for the Cup Series side, that has been the case. Martin and Earnhardt are catching these cars up ahead, but I don't even think Junior's going to catch him before he ends up having to pit again. He's going to have to pit between 20 to 30 laps to go for fuel. The hope is that everybody else is going to have to pit to the end of this race too. We're going to push it as far as possible in case the caution comes out again. Even if he can't get the free pass, he can at least get one lap back, which would be better than a 38th place finish, which is where he would finish. If everybody can make it on fuel and we don't get another caution. Edwards won 4 races in 05. In his rookie season, he won 4. Oh, Martin got loose off turn 4. Junior had to stay in the gas. And he has cleared Mark Martin into turns 1 and 2. Junior goes right back up the track through turns 1 and 2. Martin looking to cross him back over. Junior got out of the way in time instead of getting into the 6 and hooking him. Unfortunately, Martin blows by the 8 car fast enough. Dale Jr. might fall too far behind the 6. Just a quarter tank of gas left for Dale Jr. now at this point. Edwards has just crossed the line back behind him. There's 1 car between Edwards and Earnhardt yet. Dale might actually go 3 laps down by the time he cycles off pit road this last time. Unless he goes fuel only. Which is probably going to have to be the case. Even if he doesn't get the free pass, he is praying for a caution. Save him 13 spots. That could be the difference in him potentially winning a championship at Homestead at season's end and not winning a championship. Right rear is definitely starting to go away on the 8. He would have to go 93 laps on these tires, going fuel only to the end of this race. At a 2005 Charlotte surface, that was very rough on tires. I don't even know if they can make it that far into this race, honestly. Especially the more times he gets cars tucked under his rear bumper. A lot of battling going on. Martin and Earnhardt continue to close 30.1s in 2 of the last 3 laps for Dale Jr. No, I'm not going to a dirt race this weekend. I'm just going to a fantasy football draft, so my Saturday night's booked. I'll be able to watch. Junior has just wrecked into the wall to accidentally span through the caution again. 3rd time he has clipped the apron today, and that just puts the icing on the cake to what has been a rough performance for Dale Jr. That's the caution he needed, but at the same time, not the caution he needed. There are some cars that are going to pit. Backed it into the outside wall. That's the caution he needed temporarily, but he can't pit for fuel or tires bringing out the yellows, so he's just going to have to pit now. There's a couple guys that maybe weren't going to be able to make it on fuel that did pit with Dale Jr. as well, just to top off so they know they're good to the end, the loose track position, whether they were on the lead lap or lap down. Mike Bliss was on the lead lap. He'll pit. He'll take fresher tires, taking the gamble. He'll restart towards the back. And the green flag is going to be back in the air on the restart. Will we get a caution following the restart is the one thing Dale Jr. can hope for now, as he's 1 lap down. He's going to go right back to 2 laps down if we don't get a caution in a couple laps. 33 laps to go following the 8th caution of the race. Caution's out! Oh, big wreck! 1 car up and over, flipping after running over a piece of debris, and that is a massive caution flag. Terrible crash off turn 2, and that is exactly what Dale Jr. needed. big time wreck. Tony Stewart's hood came off. 2 cars ran it over, causing one to flip. Middle of the back straightaway, who I believe might have been Casey Kane. Massive crash at Charlotte, and now Junior could pit. That was the best thing that could have happened to Dale Jr. right there. Where was that caution before he spun? I don't know, but at least he can pit now. Where did Tony Stewart have the damage for that debris to come out? That's the next question. No adjustments for the 8 of Earnhardt. He's going to have fresher tires than the rest of the field, except for those who pitted during the last yellow, who were only 2 cars, I think, outside of Earnhardt. And 1 car is in the pits now. Casey Kane's out of the race. That'll be another spot for Dale Jr. Goodness gracious, that was just a wild wreck. Middle of the backstretch, I was not expecting anybody to flip. I think Casey Kane blew a tire and then had contact from behind at the same time after blowing the tire, running over the piece of debris from Stewart, which caused him to flip on the back straightaway. That's the second flip we've seen. A third flip we've seen at Charlotte tonight. Kenny Schrader flipped earlier somehow. We still don't know how it happened, but he was on his lid when the caution came out. And now Dale Jr., I mean, he flipped first half of the race. And now Casey Kane is flipped. Green flag back in the air. Is there a way Junior could get back into the free pass position or on the lead lap for another caution? Especially with that wreck coming out, we may see some debris cautions going forward. I didn't think we were ever going to see a debris caution from Tony Stewart. I really have no clue how Tony Stewart had that debris on his race car. I don't remember him being in an accident all day today. We're going to make it through the first lap after the restart this time without an issue. 28 laps to go at Charlotte. Carl Edwards leads. There were no chase drivers involved in that accident other than Stewart, whose debris came off, and he's probably not going to be as fast without a hood, you'd have to imagine. Caution. Again, debris. And that will be caution number 10 in tonight's race at Charlotte, and it's Casey Kane. It looked like his radiator came off after Casey Kane involved in an early flip. That's going to get the free pass to somebody else. That's one less car on the lead, or one more car on the lead lap, one less car. 1 lap down. Tony Stewart is the worst chaser in history. Yeah, he's finished outside the top 10 in 3 of the 4 races. He did finish second at Kansas, and he has led a decent amount of laps today. If he finishes, he'll probably get a top 10, unless he starts to fall further back without the hood on his race car now. Nobody flipped running over the debris that time, luckily. Only a couple cars that are lapped down in front of Dale Jr. Green flag back in the air. Casey Kane's hood was flapping in the wind, too. Is there a chance Dale Jr. could get back on the lead lap, and then we can get another quick caution, which would be the 11th of the day? He is the second. Carl Edwards just got passed by Jeff Burton. Burton's back on the lead lap. That means the 77 of Quaffle is the first car 1 lap down. Not anymore. Burton got passed by Edwards again. Contact on the front stretch. Junior trying to fight for the bottom. He lost the inside. Oh, this is terrible. That was not a good restart for Dale Jr. Needs to get back to the inside stat. And does. Contact with the lefter. Needs to get by the 31. A little contact from the lefter corner panel. Tony Stewart to the 31 of Burton. Carl Edwards pulling away. It is Quaffle on the outside for position. Junior's 1 spot away from the free pass. Casey Kane's hood may fly off. Junior clips the apron, though, trying to dig hard. He saves it, but he's going to lose ground, and he lost the spot to Quaffle as well. Somehow he didn't spin that time. Could sit behind Martin. He got underneath him. Truex is going to get around him as well. There's only 2 cars that Junior has to pass. 31 in the 77 and then hope for a caution. 20 laps to go. I can't help but touch the apron. Guys chastising me on a nightly basis for that. Obviously, I'm trying not to hit the apron. When you have a car on the outside, it's so much harder in this game. I kid you not. You tried running 500 miles at this track without stability help on this game, you would understand. That's all I'm saying. I've touched it 4 times in 500 miles. I happened to spin 3 of the times. That time I saved it. I don't even think it's over-aggressiveness. I think it's just... I mean, some of it is, but... Not like I'm cutting as low as I can, just hoping for the best. It's I'm trying to run the racing line. Junior slowly closing back in. Almost lost the bottom to Jamie Mcmurray. Losing his teammate Truex just a little bit, though. That's the problem. He's getting arrow loose at the 42 car of Jamie Mcmurray all over his back bumper, and it's hurting him. At the very least, even if we don't get another caution, 2 more spots Dale Jr. can gain on the 31 and 77. We're getting passed by lead lap cars. I mean, I can drive with assist on, but if I do that, I'm going full throttle around the racetrack the entire race because it's that easy and I'm winning every race. That wouldn't be fun after a while. Then I get complaints about not racing on the hardest difficulty. It's kind of a lose-lose situation. You either run across these races from time to time, just what's going to happen, or it's too easy. Waffle just got passed by John Andretti. Waffle trying to get back to the inside. Martin Truex Jr. lurking right now on the 31 of Jeff Burton. A little arrow loose for Dale Jr. with the 42 car behind him again. He's closing in. He's a little faster than at least Quaffle and Burton. Truex will make the pass on the inside of the 31. Truex is having himself a great day right now. He's probably inside the top 5. Go get him, Truex. You know what? Let's get Truex's first career win. We're going to bank on this race not staying green to the end. Martin Truex Jr. has 11 laps to try and get his first career win and run down Carl Edwards. Well, Dale Jr.'s got a problem. That's unfortunate. Well, now Dale Jr. is going to finish 40th. I didn't think that was going to happen. I've done 2 field passes today, and that has not happened. Junior is only a 10th quicker that last lap. Just ran a 30.036. Truex is digging right now. He's got a shot to get up to second. Tony Stewart's without a hood and is in second place. I'm not even going back to Dale Jr., even if he gets back up to speed. Junior's going to be 2 laps down. He's going to be the only car 2 laps down in 40th, so he's not going to get any more positions if I switch back to him, and he's not going to lose any more spots, so I might as well just stay with Truex the rest of this race. 8 laps to go. 9 laps to go. That time by at the line. Really tough to pass. I don't think these guys are going to catch Carl Edwards before the end of the race. Truex has to find a way to get by the 88 of Dale Jarrett. He's going to look low off the exit of turn 4. Fastest lap by Truex this entire race, 30.019 that last lap. He's up to 4th, getting by Jarrett. Newman goes a bit wide through turns 1 and 2. Rest in peace, Dale Jr. Can anybody catch Carl Edwards? I mean, this could help Jr. a little bit in the points, at least if Edwards doesn't win. That's going to cost him 10 points. I don't know that there's enough time. Truex could get all the way up here, but he's trying. Stewart hooking that white line all the way through the corner. He didn't spin out. These guys are a little bit faster than Carl. It took him a lot longer to get through the lap traffic, and that's why Carl Edwards was able to pull away. Edwards has had the fastest car this entire race, too. Truex underneath Newman. Side drafts him on the front stretch. Races him clean. Now there's contact. Martin Truex Jr. to P3 as he rubs and runs his way by Ryan Newman. And the rookie Truex is up to 3rd. 2 seconds off the race lead with 6 to go. Two-tenths quicker that last lap. Back straightaway, Junior trying to get up to speed. That's going to hold up the 12 of Ryan Newman. Chances of Truex getting arrow loose are not going to be there anymore. Truex cycles out somehow, or Junior cycles out in front of the 99 somehow. That would be ideal. A little bump to Tony Stewart. He'll move him. Truex to 2nd, passing Stewart off the exit of turn 2. 1.8 seconds off the race lead from Carl Edwards. 3 to go at the line. Truex is only 10th or 2 faster than Edwards a lap. The rookie's 1-2 at the front of the field. Stewart was probably holding him up a bit without the hood. Dale Jr.'s going to cycle onto the racetrack. Only chance now is a caution and a green-white checker, really. Or Carl Edwards having a catastrophic problem right now with 2 laps to go. Cautions have definitely made it to where everybody will make it on field to the end. Oh, no, I've swapped back at the wrong time. That's not what I meant to do. Oh, there's contact 3 wide off turn 4. Didn't cause a wreck. That's not what I meant to do. Truex is hanging on to 2nd. Just lost 0.3 of a second with that. He didn't really have a shot of catching Carl Edwards anyway. Trying to hold him into 2nd place. Tony Stewart down to the inside of Martin Truex Jr. Side by side as they are going to make it now to the white flag. Final lap. Contact on the front stretch. Stewart is going to wreck going into turn 1. I don't think that was Truex's fault there. I don't know how they made contact, but that's going to lock Truex into a second-place finish as Tony Stewart is wrecked. He's down on the apron. He's losing a bunch of spots on the final lap. Problems for a chaser battling for second place. And the rookies will finish 1-2 at Charlotte tonight. Carl Edwards will win at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And Edwards wins his 6th race of the season. Unbelievable. Props to Carl Edwards. He dominated tonight's race. He deserved to win. He had the fastest car in the field. He led 162 laps today, leading the most laps and getting a max points day, picking up win number 6 on the season. Martin Truex Jr. finishes in 2nd, despite not leading the lap. Great run by Truex there at the end. Ryan Newman finishes in 3rd, Dale Jarrett in 4th, and Jamie McMurray rounds out the top 5. Mike Bliss, solid day, finishes 6th. Remember, he took fresh tires during that second to last caution of the race. Prior to the Casey Kane flip on the backstretch, and he was able to drive back inside the top 10 because of it, despite running outside the top 10 all day. So that late yellow allowed Bliss to gain some spots back into the top 10. I think that's Kurt Busch who finished 7th. Boris Said finishes 8th tonight. Great run by Boris Said. He might have been one car that pitted for fresh tires at the end of the race too. Kevin Harvick 9th. Matt Kenseth rounds out the top 10 with 1 lap led. Chasers outside the top 10 would include Jimmy Johnson 11. Tony Stewart fell back to 12th after wrecking on the final lap. He led 81 laps today. I think that's Kyle Busch that finished in 13th. Bobby Labonte 14th, another chaser. Casey Kane, after flipping, still finished lead lap, finished 16th. Michael Waltrip, our other teammate, ended up on the lead lap, finished 19th. Dale Jr. ends up finishing 37th tonight. Multiple laps down, led 5 laps. I guess Shane Meal DNF'd before those cautions started coming out at the end of the race. So Jr. finishes 37th. Probably would have finished either 24th or 26th if I didn't swap to Truex at the end. I had no clue it was going to pit us like that. I think it's because we flipped, because there was another race I had that happen. I think it was Dover. I think it was Dover in the chase it happened. And it made me pit, and I flipped in that race too. So I feel like whenever you flip, that's why it causes you to pit. It's almost as if, like, you should have DNF'd, but you didn't for whatever reason. So that's why it makes you pit. That's my best guess. 10 cautions total, though, for 30 caution laps. And Dale Jr., 37th, he DNF'd. Well, Jr. didn't DNF, but you get the point. Finished 6 laps down. Shane Meal, 38th. 293 laps completed. He DNF'd. Kenny Wallace DNF'd. Greg Biffle DNF'd, so another chase driver blew an engine today. Kenny Schrader flipped and then blew up after the restart. Jeff Gordon from the pole blows an engine, so the top 2 in points both finish outside the top 35. So Dale Jr. did beat Jeff Gordon, even though Dale Jr. finished 37th. He did do his job. He beat Gordon. Problem is, he also, the second part of that job was to at least finish top 10. He did not. So this points battle is about to blow up, because we had 3 chasers finish outside the top 35 today. And then last place is Jimmy Spencer, who blew an engine at lap 109. Gordon led laps from the pole, led the first 7, that was it. And then obviously blew an engine at lap 149, same lap as Kenny Schrader. Well, on the bright side, if there's one good thing to look at, we beat the points leader tonight. Time to look at the point standings. And it was Kurt Busch that finished in the top 10, not Kyle Busch, which I figured. Oh boy. Subway 500 Martinsville will be the next race next week. 5 races to go in the chase. That was tough luck tonight. At least we got Truex to a career best second place finish. If we're looking at the right side. And again, at least a big thing, at least Jeff Gordon DNF. Biffle DNF too, which is good. So Dale Jr.'s 105 points out of first. Carl Edwards moves up 3 spots from 4th to 1st with the max points day and now has a 59-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. Back-to-back races in which the points leader has blown an engine. First Mike Bliss at Kansas and now Jeff Gordon today at Charlotte. But Carl Edwards ends up with the points lead, getting his 6th win of the season. Regular season champion, leading the chase points as well. He's obviously had the best average finish so far. Yeah, that was definitely the worst race of the chase for Junior. Worst finish, too. 105 points out of first, though. 6th in the standings. He went from 6th to 2nd in the standings after he had a max points day at Kansas. So we could definitely get a lot of those points back. 5 races to go. I mean, it's simple. We beat Carl Edwards heads up. If we win a race, we're automatically going to score 15 more points than him, even if he leads a lap. 15 times 5 is 75 points, so just gain a couple positions outside of that. If Edwards isn't going to finish 2nd 5 straight races, I'm probably not going to win 5 straight races too, though, so let's be honest. But we've had quite a few chase drivers DNF. I mean, Junior didn't DNF tonight, but it was about as close to a DNF as you could get. 6 laps down to 37th, but I mean, Tony Stewart has a DNF in the chase. Bobby Labonte's got a DNF in the chase. Kenseth has a DNF. Biffle now has a DNF. Mike Bliss and Jeff Gordon have a DNF. So the only 3 drivers to finish without a DNF in the chase is the top 3 in points, Edwards, Johnson, Kurt Busch. So maybe they'll DNF before the chase is out then. Maybe. Maybe the game like systematically has each chase driver DNF once. Because we had all but Dale Jr., Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards a DNF in the chase so far. So we'll see. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Again, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing live commentary for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona. Hope to see you guys then. I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your Thursday night.